Hello, Namaskar. This is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. Donald Trump is back in the White House as the 47th President of the United States of America. The world watched the oath-taking ceremony featuring tech titans, Nazi salutes, Trump's trademark dance moves, and an air kiss. The only thing more dramatic than him at the inauguration was his wife, Melania Trump's hat. The event was followed by a sea of executive orders. This is a president in a hurry, trying to hit the ground running. And even though one day is very little time to decide what the next 4 years may look like, Trump's words and actions give a strong signal on what this presidency will bring. We'll decode the moves for you. Also fact-check the president on his latest claims and discuss what Khalistani terrorist Pannun was doing at Trump's party. Was he a guest or a gate crasher? Also a report on the First Lady fashion. Meanwhile, in Pakistan's Gwadar, they have a brand new airport. Islamabad says it's a gift from China. China says it's a donation. In India, what does spirituality look like in the age of social media? A special report on Gen Z influencers at the Kumbh. What the Russian military is doing in Africa's Mali, and why the world is losing the art of writing. All this and more coming up. The headlines first. The European Union chief calls for boosting ties with India. Ursula von der Leyen's top team will visit the country soon. The EU chief wants to strengthen relations with China as well. She urged the bloc to take a pragmatic approach with Donald Trump's administration while emphasizing the need to foster partnerships beyond the US. Chinese President Xi Jinping holds a video call with Russia's Vladimir Putin. Both leaders praise their deepening cooperation. Beijing is a close political and economic partner of Moscow and has refused to condemn the war in Ukraine. The call came just a day after Trump returned to the White House. A fire at a ski resort in Turkey kills more than 60 people and injures several others. The fire is believed to have started in the hotel's restaurant. The cause is not yet known. 4 suspects, including the owner of the hotel, have been detained. Israel launches an operation in the West Bank city of Jenin. This comes as Hamas declares it will release more Israeli hostages from Gaza. On Saturday, 4 more women hostages will be freed in return for Palestinian prisoners. This will be the second such exchange under the ceasefire deal which began on Sunday. Colombia declares a state of emergency and vows war against left-wing guerrilla groups. Thousands of soldiers have been deployed to contain the violence near the Venezuela border. In just 5 days, at least 100 people have been killed and almost 20,000 have been displaced. And the Sri Lankan government asks its former presidents to immediately vacate their government mansions. This includes the once powerful Rajapaksa brothers. The move is part of a new austerity drive. The government plans to convert the stately homes into boutique hotels or museums.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
The first item that President Trump is signing is the rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions, executive orders, presidential memoranda, and others.
If the inauguration was a stage, Donald Trump was the performer. Ever the showman. The new American president did not disappoint. The only thing giving him a run for his money was his wife, Melania Trump's hat. We'll talk about that later on the show. For the moment, let's focus on Donald Trump. He kicked off his second term with fireworks and drama. Trump's first day in office had everything you would expect from him. He turned his inauguration into a full-blown reality show. He announced decisions and signed orders in full public view, and he did it from 3 different locations: the U.S. Capitol, where Trump took oath, the Capital One Arena, where he addressed a large crowd of supporters, and finally the Oval Office. The decisions came in thick and fast, with Trump showing off executive orders wherever he went.
Could you imagine Biden doing this? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Trump passed some 200 orders on his first day. He reversed 78 decisions taken by Joe Biden as president. He also issued multiple executive orders and proclamations. Tonight, we'll bring you the highlights, and we've shortlisted 5 on the domestic agenda, starting with the biggest headline: Donald Trump wants to end birthright citizenship. As of today, it's a constitutional right in America. Anyone born on U.S. soil, anyone born in the U.S. gets American citizenship. That essentially is birthright citizenship. Donald Trump wants to scrap it. He wants to exclude the children of illegal immigrants. He does not want them to have citizenship. And to ensure this, he has signed an executive order. It is a legally binding order that does not require the permission of the U.S. Congress, so it's a shortcut to implement policy. But it's also something that can be challenged in court. Listen to what Trump said.
With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. It's all about common sense.
Well, here's a common sense question. How will they enforce this new order? Can Donald Trump simply cancel citizenship with the stroke of a pen? Here is how the process works right now. When a child is born in the U.S., government agencies issue them a certificate. And this is irrespective of where their parents come from, who their parents are. Every child gets this certificate if they're born in the United States. Yesterday, President Trump directed U.S. agencies to stop issuing these certificates. And this order immediately triggered a legal battle. Lawsuits have been filed, mostly by rights groups. So we've not heard the end of this. And Trump is going after immigrants in more ways than one. He issued a number of orders to curb illegal immigration. That is the second highlight. President Trump has declared a national emergency on the U.S.-Mexico border. He has unleashed a sweeping crackdown. The U.S.-Mexico border is being sealed. The U.S. military could be mobilized. Trump has ordered more detention centers to be built and for mass deportations to begin. Again, the challenge lies in the implementation. There are roughly 11 million illegal immigrants in the U.S. today. Can Donald Trump simply round them up and send them back home? On cue, rights groups are up in arms. They're mounting legal challenges. They're also protesting. There was a demonstration on the streets of Philadelphia yesterday, but the new American president is determined.
All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came.
Like I said, he's made up his mind, and this was evident in his other decisions as well, like the presidential pardons. That's the third highlight. Trump has pardoned more than 1,500 people, including his supporters who stormed the U.S. Capitol 4 years ago.
Yes, sir. First, we have a list of pardons and commutations relating to events that occurred on January 6, 2021.
Okay, and how many people is this?
I think this order will apply to approximately 1,500 people, sir.
So this is January 6th. These are the hostages. Approximately 1,500 for a pardon.
Yes.
Full pardon.
This pardon is sweeping in scope. It goes beyond freeing those who were jailed. Trump has also instructed government lawyers. They have to drop all pending cases against the rioters. Highlight number 4 is about the U.S. military. President Donald Trump has banned transgenders from serving in the military. He has also rescinded all DEI policies. We talked about this yesterday too. DEI stands for Diversity, Equity and Inclusion, DEI. It promoted equal rights for racial minorities and the LGBTQ community within the military. Trump says the US military will now recognize only two genders, male and female.
We don't want to have transgender operations for everyone. There's a longing for common sense in this country. And I was saying before, we're the party of common sense, you know? We don't want to have men playing in women's sports.
Highlight number 5, inflation. Trump wants to bring America's inflation under control. He has issued orders to all government departments. They need to tackle inflation. These departments have been asked to take specific steps, like cutting regulation to bring down prices. So those are the 5 big highlights. They broadly cover all of Trump's major domestic promises. He also took decisions that impact America's relations with the world, like on climate. Trump has again pulled the US out of the Paris Climate Treaty. This treaty was signed in 2015. Trump walked out of it during his first term as president. Then Joe Biden took office and he reversed the decision. Now Donald Trump is back and the US is out again. Climate action is a ping-pong ball in American politics. The US is also withdrawing from the WHO, the World Health Organization. Trump says they're just fleecing America. He has also reinstated Cuba on America's terror list. Biden had dropped Cuba from that list only last month. As promised, Trump has delayed the ban on TikTok, but conditions apply. He has set a 75-day deadline for TikTok to figure out a new ownership structure.
Essentially with TikTok, I have the right to either sell it or close it. And we'll make that determination. TikTok is largely young people. I guess I have a warm spot for TikTok that I didn't have originally.
So if Trump has his way, the US will have 50% ownership of TikTok and some new names on its maps. Because President Trump wants the Gulf of Mexico to be called the Gulf of America and Mount Denali, which is Alaska's highest peak, to be called Mount McKinley. Obama, as president, had named the mountain Denali to honor the indigenous people. Trump has reverted it to McKinley, who was a businessman, politician, and expansionist, and Trump's personal hero. That's a lot of moves on day one. Trump had promised shock and awe, and he is delivering. He's also tweaking how the US government works. Trump has cancelled work from home for government employees. He's also ordered a hiring freeze in the US government. 4 officials from the Biden administration were sacked, and Trump did this through his app, Truth Social. That's how he fired them. He's also suspended US foreign assistance. He wants to review all foreign aid commitments. Basically, he's put his stamp on the government almost immediately. At the same time, he's also avoiding some issues like tariffs. Remember, he made a lot of noise on tariffs earlier, but after taking charge, he made no big announcement on that front, although he's not letting up on the threats.
We're thinking in terms of 25% on Mexico and Canada because they're allowing vast numbers of people. Canada's a very bad abuser also. Vast numbers of people to come in and fentanyl to come in.
When do you think you would enact those?
I think February 1st.
So what do we make of all this action? What does it say about Trump 2.0? In his first term, he was a complete outsider, unfamiliar with the inner workings of Washington. This time, Donald Trump knows the lay of the land. He's operating like a sniper, targeting the old guard, one shot at a time. Now let's talk about the inauguration day. It is a masterpiece in meticulous planning. Every second is choreographed, every detail flawlessly executed, leaving little room for surprises. Yet, an event of this magnitude does throw up some surprises and iconic moments, and yesterday was no exception. We decided to compile them for you. The grand, unforgettable moments, the unexpected slip-ups, and of course, the internet's favorite memes. Let's start with moment number 1, Donald Trump taking oath, sworn in as the 47th President of the United States of America. But did you notice something unusual there? His left hand was at his side and not on the Bible. Yes, US presidents typically take the oath with a Bible. Melania Trump was standing right there holding 2 of them, 2 Bibles, one given by Trump's mother back in 1955 and the second, the historic Bible on which Abraham Lincoln took oath. Yet Trump did not place his hand on either. Why? Well, that is the question. Did he intentionally break protocol, or was it just an oversight? We may never know. But as long as the oath is valid, it's probably no big deal.
Just a few months ago in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again.
Which brings us to moment number 2. What's a swearing-in ceremony without some PDA, public display of affection? And we saw some of it, or at least an attempt at it. The new president wanted to celebrate his return, so he turned to First Lady Melania Trump, trying to kiss her on the cheeks. But he could only manage an air kiss, because in the way was her gigantic hat. The moment immediately went viral, with the internet speculating, why did she choose to wear it in the first place? Moment number 3, it's the people occupying the front row. Usually it's an honor reserved for the political elite or the president's cabinet, the new president's cabinet. But this time it was full of Silicon Valley princelings. Tesla CEO Elon Musk, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, Google CEO Sundar Pichai, Apple CEO Tim Cook, TikTok CEO Shu Zhiqiu. They all rubbed shoulders with Washington's elite. About a dozen billionaires were at this event. Their total net worth? According to estimates, around $1 trillion, which, by the way, is the GDP of Switzerland.
We will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars.
Of course, Elon Musk did not stop at a thumbs up. He was ecstatic. The candidate he bet on won the election. And now he has an agency to lead. His company's shares are skyrocketing, so Elon Musk has every reason to be happy, and he was, unabashedly. That's moment number 4. Elon Musk was jumping around. He was gesturing to the crowd. But what he did next took the internet by storm.
This is what victory feels like. Yeah! And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you.
It's been called a Nazi salute. And what's that? This is how a Nazi salute is defined: raising an outstretched right arm with the palm down. Like what Musk did. Not once, not twice, but multiple times. And it got people talking. Some have slammed him, some have defended him, but most are just asking, why did he have to do it? Guess Elon Musk was just being himself, controversy's favorite child, although this time it was J.D. Vance's children who stole the show. That's our moment number 5. Their father was swearing in to be the Vice President of the United States of America, but they had other things to worry about, like running around with their Band-Aids and stuffed toys. After the swearing in, it was down to business, signing numerous executive orders. We've told you about them. But between all of that, Donald Trump had a special moment. And that's number 6 for you. Trump discovered a letter by Joe Biden. He even thanked the reporter for asking about it. Trump said it would have gone unnoticed had he not been reminded about it.
President Trump, did President Biden leave you a letter?
He may have. Wait. Don't they leave it in the desk? I don't know. Oh.
What's in there?
Thank you, Peter. It could have been years before we found this. Wow. Thank you.
What does it say on the outside?
Maybe we should all read it together.
Let's read it.
Well, maybe I'll read it first and then make that
That
determination.
sounds great.
And finally, moment number 7, the Commander-in-Chief Ball. It was a perfect ending to the night. Trump and the First Lady shared the first dance. Then the President and the Vice President cut a giant cake.
Secret Service is getting very nervous.
This is what stole the show. Trump dancing, this time with a sword. He's elated, and that wraps up the Inauguration Day iconic moments, blunders, and a flurry of memes. The event delivered on every front, making history in more ways than one.
I'm about to sign some very important executive orders of our new administration.
I know one day is not much, but let's try to dissect Trump's moves. Is he trying to send a message? And if he is, what is that message? And how is the world reacting to it? Broadly speaking, Donald Trump, as president, has sent 3 messages. 1, he will kill woke ideas at home. 2, he will end America's engagements abroad, whether in conflicts, climate action, or public health. And 3, he will use coercion to protect American supremacy. These are the 3 broad messages. Now let's take a closer look at them. Trump has said that there will be only 2 genders, male and female. He has also ended diversity hiring in the US government. Both of these were seen as woke agendas, so Trump gutted them. In their place, he pushed his own ideology, like crackdowns at the border, cutting down public spending, and scrapping birthright citizenship. Basically, it was an ideological switcheroo. Wokeism out, MAGA conservatism in. And that matches with Trump's political evolution. In his first term, he was a disruptor. In the second, he is also a culture warrior. Trump wants to turn America into MAGA country. And yesterday was proof of that. His second message was on American engagements. Trump promised to end the Ukraine war. He distanced himself from Gaza, and he pulled out of key agreements and agencies. The US, as we told you, is once again leaving the Paris Climate Accords. It is also leaving the World Health Organization, and Trump's logic is quite simple. None of these initiatives helps America. He says the Paris Accords are unfair, that the WHO is ripping off the US, and that Ukraine is Putin's headache, not his. Listen in.
You were the president during COVID. Don't you see the importance of organization like that to coordinate a global response?
Sure, I do, but not when you're being ripped off like we are by the World Health. World Health ripped us off. But I'm immediately withdrawing from the unfair, one-sided Paris Climate Accord ripoff.
How confident are you, Mr. President, that you can keep the ceasefire in Gaza and conclude the 3 phases of the deal?
I'm not confident. That's not our war, it's their war, but I'm not confident. I have to speak to President Putin. We're going to have to find out. He can't be thrilled. He's not doing so well. I mean, he's grinding it out.
Now to the last message. Lack of engagement is not isolationism. Trump is very much willing to use coercion abroad, whether it's to retake the Panama Canal from Panama or to keep illegal migrants in Mexico. If Trump feels the need, he will flex America's muscles. And it's a departure from traditional US policy because earlier there were certain expectations from Washington. Some things were a given, like the US was expected to support allies. The US was expected to target rivals like China and Russia. It was also expected to act like a policeman. But Trump is different. He wants to pick and choose where to engage. Look at West Asia, for example. Trump has already forced Israel to take a ceasefire. But yesterday, he lifted US sanctions on Israeli settlers. He also promised to convince Saudi Arabia to recognize Israel. It's a bit of a quid pro quo. Now, this is not classic disengagement. It is not American isolationism. This is Donald Trump deciding where and how to engage. Same with China. Trump has been threatening them with tariffs, but yesterday he did not even mention China. He only talked about tariffs on Canada and Mexico, no China. And when asked about it, he was ambiguous. He said he's not ready for the tariffs yet. The same Donald Trump also extended the deadline for banning TikTok, the Chinese app. So expect him to pick and choose his fights, both with allies and rivals. Which brings us to the world reactions. Putin and Xi Jinping held a video call after Trump's inauguration. They promised to deepen their partnership. It's clear evidence of what's in store. Russia and China want to jointly blunt Trump's decisions. They also want to capitalize on any of his missteps. For example, this WHO decision. He's pulled the US out. Now, this leaves the door open for China and Russia to make inroads to imprint their vision on this agency. China says it is hoping to cooperate with Donald Trump, but they also criticize some of his moves.
We hope that the United States will work with China to jointly promote the stable, healthy, and sustainable development of China-US economic and trade relations. China is concerned about the U.S. announcement that it will withdraw from the Paris Agreement. Climate change is a common challenge facing all mankind. No country can stay out of it, and no country can be immune to it.
World leaders lined up to congratulate Trump, each with their own agenda. Netanyahu heaped praises on him. He's hoping that Trump can expand the Abraham Accords. Ukraine's Zelensky called him a strong man. He's trying to flatter Trump for support against Russia. Europe had a subtle warning against racing to the bottom. They are a worried lot. And the UK talked about historical ties in the hope of making it to Trump's good books. Listen in.
Your first term as president was filled with groundbreaking moments in the history of the great alliance between our two countries. You withdrew from the dangerous Iran nuclear deal. You recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital. I believe that working together again, we will raise the U.S.-Israel alliance to even greater heights.
The inauguration of the new president of the United States, Donald Trump. He is a strong person. I wish President Trump and all of America success. Ukrainians are ready to work with Americans to achieve peace, true peace. This is an opportunity that must be seized.
For centuries, the relationship between our two nations has been one of collaboration, cooperation, and enduring partnership. It is a uniquely close bond. With President Trump's long-standing affection and historical ties to the United Kingdom, I know that depth of friendship will continue.
As this competition intensifies, we will likely continue to see frequent use of economic tools, such as sanctions, export controls, and tariffs, that are intended to safeguard economic and national security. In this spirit, we will need to work together to avoid a global race to the bottom, because it is in no one's interest to break the bonds of the global economy.
So everyone's got the memo. If you need US support, you will have to work for it. You will have to sweet talk Donald Trump. In that way, he's put the world on edge. But yesterday also revealed a problem with Trump's mandate. You see, the expectations are huge. Trump has just 4 years to reshape America culturally, financially, and politically. If his party loses the midterms, he may not even have 4 years, which is why Trump is rushing to do things. He has an unprecedented agenda on his plate and not a lot of time to do it. Donald Trump attended 3 balls yesterday. One of them had a strange guest. He was lurking around like a dementor from Harry Potter. His vibe, weird/creepy. The man was Gurpatwant Singh Pannun, leader of Khalistani group Sikhs for Justice. He attended Trump's Liberty Ball yesterday. As the crowd shouted USA, Pannun shouted Khalistani slogans. Take a look at this first. Like I said, creepy/weird. His vibe was more Jeffrey Epstein than inauguration. But jokes aside, this is serious. Pannun is a designated terrorist in India. He leads a banned separatist organization and he wants to carve India up. So how did he end up at Trump's party? Pannun says he was invited. He claims to have been a special guest at Trump's inaugural ball. But chances are he is lying. You don't have to be invited to attend the ball. You can also get tickets. There are mainly 2 ways to do this. A, you can send a request to the presidential transition team. Or B, you can purchase tickets at the venue. Now, we don't know what Pannun did. But the fact is he was at Trump's party, merely meters away from the new US president. Until we get the full picture, it's hard to talk about the politics, about whether this was a message to India. But we can say this, the US has consistently dropped the ball on this one. They've ignored India's concerns on Khalistan, and that is why Pannun is a free man today. That is why he's attending inaugural balls in Washington. His strategy is pretty clear. Pannun wants to portray himself as close to Trump, as having political patronage in the US. And we saw an example of this in 2019 as well. In his first term, Trump hosted a special event on America's Independence Day. Gurpatwant Singh Pannun was there too. Take a look. Even the caption is the same. Pannun called himself a special guest. If you add these two, a pattern emerges, a trend of Pannun attending key events hosted by Donald Trump. Is he buying these tickets, or is Trump's team helping him out? That's what India will want to know, because the answer has broader implications. It is true that India-US ties have grown in the last decade, but it's also true that recently things have unraveled a bit. The US has accused Indian officials of trying to kill Pannun. They also have an Indian suspect in custody. His name is Nikhil Gupta. In addition, US prosecutors have implicated an Indian intelligence official, Vikas Yadav, who also faces charges in India. The question is, will Trump continue this investigation or will he abandon it? There is no public record of Trump's Khalistan policy. The only indications are his cabinet picks. Trump's national security advisor appears sympathetic to India's concerns. His name is Mike Waltz. As a lawmaker, he criticized Khalistani violence. But Trump's assistant attorney general is the opposite, an Indian-American lawyer named Harmeet Dhillon. She is a known Khalistani sympathizer. I'm afraid this is not enough to draw conclusions, so India must be prepared for all scenarios. You cannot assume that Donald Trump will crack down on Khalistanis. You need to give him a reason to do that. Make a case against Khalistani groups. Show their links to Justin Trudeau in Canada and expose their appetite for violence. This is a good chance for India to take control of the narrative. Trudeau is heading out in Canada. Biden is gone from the White House. So now is the time to press the advantage, to turn the tables on Pannun and company. Fashion and politics, they don't often go hand in hand, but when they do, the world takes notice. Take Melania Trump, for example. In 2017, she was shunned by designers. No one wanted to dress her, apparently. Cut to 2025, and all anyone can talk about is her outfit. And of course, that gigantic hat. But Melania is not the first to use fashion to make waves, and she certainly won't be the last. First ladies have long used their style as a form of silent communication, making bold statements without ever saying a word. Our next story tells you how.
The year was 2017. Donald Trump was about to take oath. He was getting ready for his first term as US President, and Melania Trump faced a huge problem. She had to attend the swearing-in ceremony, yet no one was willing to dress her. Top fashion houses reportedly shunned her. They didn't approve of her husband's politics. They didn't want to associate with the family. So Melania chose an American designer, Ralph Lauren. She donned a powder blue cashmere dress, standing beside her husband as he took oath. Well, 8 years later, the First Lady seems to be having the last laugh. This time, she had designers flocking to her. Christian Dior and Versace, they all lined up to dress her. But the First Lady went the America way again, choosing New York designer Adam Lippes. High-necked tailoring, sharply cut with spiked heels, the whole outfit struck a somber note, especially for such a day of joy and cheer for her husband. But what truly stole the show was her headgear, a statement hat designed by Eric Javits. It was so massive, it created its own social bubble. Even her husband couldn't get close enough for a proper kiss, resorting to an air kiss instead. The oversized brim didn't just hide her face, it shrouded her eyes, making eye contact, well, virtually impossible. The world was left wondering, where is Melania? She may have been physically present at the event, but she exuded the aura of an international woman of mystery. Some people couldn't help but compare her to a mob wife at a funeral. In America, First Ladies may not always have the loudest voice, but their fashion choices speak volumes. So what was Melania trying to say with this bold statement? Is it her version of revenge dressing? We'll never find out. But later in the evening, her outfit softened slightly. The First Lady wore a white column gown featuring sculptural serpentine black ribbon. It kept a sharp, edgy vibe that felt anything but casual. And Melania Trump isn't the only one to make a statement with her fashion choices. Several US First Ladies have done it over the years. The most famous example is Jacqueline Kennedy. She attended her husband's presidential inauguration with a perfect egg-shaped pillbox hat. While she was clasping it, the hat got a dent. Jackie didn't notice it, but it was broadcast across the globe, and that kicked off a fashion trend. Hats with that particular dimple being sold in America. In 1977, Rosalind Carter wore a dress she had already worn for the inauguration ceremony of her husband, Jimmy Carter. The media criticized this move, but the point was to show empathy for the economic struggles of Americans at that moment. In recent years, several First Ladies have turned to independent designers, especially for inaugural events. Michelle Obama made waves in 2009 in a lemon-colored outfit. It was by Isabel Toledo. But what truly made the mark were her gloves. They were J. Crew, and the reasonable pricing showed her relatable approach. In 2021, Jill Biden wore a sparkling blue coat and dress combo. It was by Markarian, a small brand in New York. Yesterday, she stuck to a purple outfit by Ralph Lauren. Purple is a blend of Republican red and Democratic blue and is considered the color of political unity. So Jill was sending that message for her last day as America's First Lady. History has shown us that these fashion moments transcend politics. They become symbols, sparking conversations that last far beyond the event itself. In the end, fashion for First Ladies isn't just about clothes, it's about making a statement that's heard around the world. And Melania Trump? Well, she's leaving her mark one carefully curated outfit at a time.
So that was Donald Trump's first day in office. A lot of things were done and a lot of things were said. The thing with Trump is he's more about feelings than facts. He will often say things he believes to be true, but they don't really hold up. And yesterday was no different. So our next story is a fact check, going through Trump's claims and seeing which ones just aren't true.
That's a good one. Birthright. That's a big one.
What about that one in the course? That one is likely to be challenged.
Could be. We think we have good grounds, but you could be right. I mean, you'll find out. It's ridiculous. We're the only country in the world that does this with birthright, as you know. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. But, you know, we'll see. We think we have very good grounds. People have wanted to do this for decades.
Trump wants to end birthright citizenship, where anyone born in the US automatically gets citizenship. Now, he claims that the US is the only country in the world that does this with birthright. You just heard him say. But that is not true. 38 countries have birthright citizenship, including Canada and Mexico. Most South American countries, and even Pakistan and Nepal in South Asia, birthright citizenship is not the norm, but it definitely isn't exclusive to the United States.
With my actions today, we will end the Green New Deal and we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto industry and keeping my sacred pledge to our great American auto workers.
The Green New Deal was a resolution proposed by two Democrats, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Edward Markey. It was proposed in 2019. It was supposed to be a non-binding resolution, but it was defeated anyway. So a Green New Deal never got underway. Since it never began, it's a bit hard for Trump to end it. There's also no electric vehicle mandate in the US. Joe Biden and the Democrats wanted to promote electric vehicles. They offered incentives to increase EV sales, but there was no compulsion to buy EVs, so no mandate for Trump to revoke.
The United States, I mean, think of this, spent more money than ever spent on a project before and lost 38,000 lives in the building of the Panama Canal. And above all, China is operating the Panama Canal, and we didn't give it to China, we gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
Trump spoke about the Panama Canal again. He said the US lost 38,000 lives building the canal. The real figure is about 5,600, which is still a lot, but it's not 38,000. Then there's a part about China operating the canal. That is not true. China has two commercial port terminals in Panama at either end of the canal. These have long been run by a Hong Kong-based consortium. They've been running it since the late 1990s. Chinese firms also operate a cruise ship terminal, a wind energy farm, and a few other projects near the canal, but the Chinese do not operate the canal itself. That is done by the Panama Canal Authority. It's a government agency completely run by Panama. So Trump's China-operated claims do not hold up. And it would be absurd for him to seize the canal under that premise. These were the major points requiring a fact check yesterday. There were other unsubstantiated claims about election victory margins, inflation figures, and immigration. But here's one point that was definitely false and really needs clarifying.
Spain is very low. And yet, aren't they a BRICS nation?
What?
They're a BRICS nation, Spain. You know what a BRICS nation is? Well, you'll figure it out. But, and if the BRICS nations want to do that, that's okay, but we're going to put at least a 100% tariff on the business they do with the United States. You know what the BRICS is, right? You guys know.
Brazil,
you know
Russia.
what I'm saying, right? You know what I'm saying.
Well, by the looks of it, even he doesn't know what the BRICS is, because the S in BRICS is for South Africa, not Spain. That was definitely a false claim by Donald Trump. And knowing him, he's probably just getting started. Our next story is from Pakistan. The country just got a shiny new Chinese toy, an expensive one too. It's a brand new international airport in Gwadar. For those of you who do not know, Gwadar is a port city in the Balochistan region. It is the terminal point of the CPEC, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC. China has been spending a lot of money there, developing ports and trade infrastructure. Part of this infrastructure is this brand new airport. It is the largest in Pakistan, occupying more than 17 square kilometers. It currently has just one runway, and it looks far from finished. But the new Gwadar International Airport launched operations anyway. It welcomed its very first flight, a small Pakistan International Airlines jet, carrying 46 passengers from Karachi. Now look at it go, landing right between two fire trucks, making an arch with their water cannons. It's an odd choice for a grand welcome, but maybe local authorities thought better safe than sorry. You don't want the first flight to crash and burn after all. Pakistani authorities were thrilled.
ग्वादर बैनुल-अक़वामी हवाई अड्डे की तामीर, इंजीनियरिंग और तावन का एक काबिल ज़िक्र कारनामा है। ये बुलंद हिम्मत मंसूबा पाकिस्तानी और चीनी टीमों के बेपनाह कोशिशों और लगन से ज़िंदा हुआ है। हमें चीनी हुकूमत का शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहिए, जिन्होंने इस खूबसूरत तोहफे के लिए बलूचिस्तान और पाकिस्तान के लोगों का बिला ताअत्तुल और दायमी हमायत फराहम की।
That was Pakistan's defense minister calling the airport a gift. China itself has a slightly different take. This is a social media post by the Global Times, one of the endless Chinese government mouthpieces, the Global Times. They called the new airport a donation. They did not even bother to mince words, just got straight to the point. Islamabad is basically surviving on Chinese handouts. Without them, Pakistan's economy would collapse. Beijing apparently doled out $230 million for the new airport, reportedly in the form of a grant, not a loan. So it's no wonder they're calling it a donation. But China is not going soft. They're betting big, in fact, on Gwadar and CPEC. Beijing will want to get its money's worth from this donation. But that might be difficult. Considering the security situation in Balochistan, the new Gwadar airport is not universally accepted or appreciated, least of all by the local Baloch people. There's an armed group in the area called the Balochistan Liberation Army, or BLA. Now, the BLA is a separatist group. It wants an independent Baloch nation. And it has regularly attacked Gwadar port and nearby facilities. Now, the BLA believes that China wants to exploit Balochistan's resources without giving the locals their fair share. This sentiment is shared by ordinary Baloch people as well. They have protested against Chinese projects multiple times. In fact, Pakistan's Prime Minister issued a statement today. That's Shehbaz Sharif. He had a message for the people of Balochistan. He said their opposition to the Gwadar projects was, and I'm quoting, an affront to Pakistan's sovereignty and infrastructure and economic future. Now, it's a bit rich talking about sovereignty after getting an airport donation. As for Pakistan's economic future, the less said about that, the better. The Baloch people have real grievances. I'm not talking about the BLA here. I'm talking about the ordinary Baloch people. They feel that their region has been left behind, exploited to benefit those sitting in Islamabad, and now those sitting in Beijing too. Airplane and fire truck theatrics will not help change their minds. Only real, equitable development will. Now let's turn our attention to India. The Mahakumbh is underway in Prayagraj. This is the first Kumbh of its kind in 144 years, and that's quite a span of time. About 1.5 centuries. So big changes are coming for the Mahakumbh. It is witnessing a lot of firsts this time. For starters, this is a high-tech Kumbh. There are AI cameras, underwater drones and Google chats for visitors who are part of the largest gathering of humanity.
India is just great. I mean, we came to Kumbh Mela first time in life, and this is a big Kumbh Mela, so we're very excited. It's like, you know, you see the real India, and the true power of India is their people.
600 million people are expected to attend, and many of them are youngsters, which brings us to another first. Gen Z is at the Mahakumbh, the FOMO generation. They're visiting the Hindu festival and taking spirituality to social media. With a phone in hand and a snan or holy bath reel in the making, these young pilgrims are connecting to their roots, documenting their Kumbh journeys, talking about the Kumbh on social media, and perhaps reliving the tales they heard as children. In their own way, Gen Z is the most tech-savvy generation. So they are effortlessly blending vibrance with devotion and social media with spirituality. Instagram is the leading platform for India's youth. On the first day of the Kumbh, Instagram had more than 350,000 posts with hashtag Kumbh. And it's not just Hindu pilgrims. There are young culture enthusiasts as well. And they're all for the famous Kumbh Bhandaras or free food stalls. Then there are the young researchers studying waste management and people management. There are also some who want to be a religious spectacle themselves by embarking on a 600-kilometer journey to the Mahakumbh entirely on skates. Well, that's Gen Z for you. So the Mahakumbh may be a religious gathering, but like most things in life, it is also a Gen Z phenomenon now, which brings us to another first. This is the first Mahakumbh of the digital era. The first in the age of content creators and the first with influencers who are churning out daily content, hosting podcasts, guiding meditations, hosting workshops, and obviously endorsing products. You will find influencers promoting box bets or activating food courts by the Ganga. Because where there is Gen Z, there is an army of influencers. And of course, there is capitalism. You see, the Mahakumbh is a mega marketing affair as well. All kinds of companies are here. They're shelling out the big bucks. In the 2013 Kumbh, marketing spend stood at 1,500 crore rupees. Today, it is 4,500 crore rupees, which is a 300% increase. A marketing spend of about $520 million US. That's what we're talking about. A lot of this money is going to the influencers. They're being roped in to amplify brands. At least 334 influencers are part of paid sponsorships at the Kumbh. They're receiving anywhere from 1 lakh to 50 lakh rupees for campaigns. And these influencers are not just from India. At least 21 social media stars are from abroad, from countries like Finland, Singapore, and Guyana. Clearly, the Kumbh has come a long way. For decades, it was stereotyped as a festival of seers for aged pilgrims or religious fanatics. But those days are long gone. Today, droves of youngsters are flocking to the Mahakumbh from India and abroad. Whatever their inspiration and motivation, they're also reconnecting with their culture. And in turn, they are helping this spiritual festival evolve as an economic hotspot and a hub of India's vibrant culture. Now to Africa, a continent that unfortunately makes news as a playground for global players and global powers. The world's leading nations are competing for influence in Africa, and one of them just made a major move. This story is about Russia and Mali. There are pictures and videos that are going viral. They show a massive military convoy on the move in Mali. Reports say this convoy is packed with some serious firepower. It includes tanks, trucks, and armored vehicles. This is all Russian equipment, redeployed from Syria. Russia had a sizable military presence there in Syria, but after the fall of the Assad regime, Moscow is shifting focus. It is paying more attention to Africa. Our next report tells you how.
These photographs have created a stir in Mali. This is a massive convoy of Russian military equipment. It includes tanks, armored vehicles, and artillery systems. This convoy was spotted near Mali's capital, Bamako. Where's it coming from and where's it going? In a volatile country like Mali, this kind of firepower is bound to turn heads. It's simply too difficult to ignore or even hide. Government officials say the equipment is for Mali's armed forces, but observers think otherwise. They say this gear belongs to the African Corps, the successor to the Wagner Group in Africa. Reports say that the equipment was transferred from Syria. After the fall of Bashar al-Assad, Russia has been scaling back its presence there. It is becoming evident that Africa is a growing priority for Moscow. The African Corps are directly controlled by the Russian Defense Ministry. It's unclear how many troops Russia has in Mali. This convoy could be the first clue. It's large enough to support a sizable military presence. Russia's presence and influence in Mali has grown steadily since 2021, when a coup installed the country's military junta to power. Russia provides them with protection and support through troop deployments and military transfers. In exchange, Russia reaps clear benefits. The most important is access to Mali's resources. The country is rich in gold, oil, gas, and uranium, and Russia frequently taps into this reserve. However, Russia's involvement in Mali goes beyond these tangibles. With international sanctions tightening, Moscow has been forced to adapt. It has been losing friends and access to key markets. To counter this, Russia is cultivating new allies in Africa. Its reach extends beyond Mali. The African Corps also has a presence in nations like Burkina Faso and Niger. Together, these nations form a network of pro-Russian states and give a large footprint to Russia in the global south. But this influence comes at a price. With the war in Ukraine, Russian forces are already stretched. They have faced heavy casualties during clashes with local rebels. There are also reports of civilian casualties, but Russia seems unfazed by these setbacks. It's growing its military presence in Mali, which means Russia has no plans to scale back in Africa. Instead, it wants to double down.
Now, coming back to the US, Joe Biden has left the Oval Office, as I'm sure you know, and left something for his successor, a personal letter, returning the gesture that Donald Trump made for him in 2021. Now, this is a bit of an inauguration day tradition among US presidents. They exchange letters, handwritten letters, which are filled with some advice, some humor, and a lot of humanity after a heated election season. So let me ask you this. When was the last time you wrote a letter? Actually, when was the last time you wrote anything more than a few pointers? It's been a while, hasn't it? Because we live in a digital world with screens of all shapes and sizes. Miss a friend, send them a meme. Have a work update, text your colleagues. Want a grocery list, type it on the Notes app, or wait, you could just tell Siri or Alexa. This is how we live today. Our phones, our computers, they are changing how we write, if we do it at all. And so, writing is dying. Does it matter? If you ask teachers, more and more of them may say no, it doesn't, because handwriting is increasingly disappearing in schools too. In the US, students are no longer required to learn cursive writing. Finland removed it from schools in 2016. Swiss schools have reduced its use. Many Indian states are doing away with cursive as well. Now, this is part of a growing norm. The world over, 1/3 of students cannot write legibly. So that day is not far when children will look at cursive and call it a primitive foreign language. It is quite sad, really. But before we grieve education standards, do know that school children are not the only ones in this club. It includes adults too. Most of us, in fact. Very few people are putting pen to paper. According to studies, 1 in 3 educated adults do not write anything by hand for about 6 months. And 2 in 3 struggle to read someone else's handwriting. And this is not just about reading doctors' prescriptions. This is the norm. You don't need data to see it. We have thousands of calendar apps today. Few of us have actual calendars. We don't beg celebrities for autographs anymore. We want selfies. We don't write letters anymore. We spam people with TikToks and Reels. And experts get it. In the real world, in this digital world, handwriting can seem quite useless, at least from a practical skill point of view. But they also warn us that this skill atrophy is harming us. In 2012, scientists held a study. They sat down a group of preschool children and they asked them to learn letters. And the children did this in two ways. First, by writing them out by hand, and second, by typing them on a keyboard. And later, the children were put under an MRI scanner. They were shown the various letters and their brains were mapped. Now, for those who practiced by hand, scans showed their brains light up. They were highly activated because they processed information deeply. On the other hand, the activation was much weaker for those who learnt by typing because writing by hand has many benefits. It can stimulate visual recognition. It improves learning ability, it boosts retention, it improves memory in general. So the loss of writing by hand means the loss of cognitive skills and in many ways the loss of your being, of your personality. Scrawled writings show us a painter's head full of ideas. Careful writings tell us about a monk's discipline because your handwriting is a marker of who you are. For thousands of years, handwritings have taught us about entire civilizations. They show us how humans made their thoughts visible to each other. They help us trace our history. They help us remember things about ourselves that we have long forgotten, like that birthday card from your loved one, that handwritten message from your favorite teacher, or that signed album you braved crowds for. So losing handwriting is a sign of our times. But to live without it is to lose some of our humanity. So Donald Trump is back at the White House again, and we're saying it again. He's promising a golden age for America. It's quite fitting. Nothing screams golden age like a 78-year-old convicted president. But beyond the age, very little has changed. In his first term, we used to check Twitter for nuclear threats. This time, we are checking Truth Social. Now, Trump got a lot of stuff done on his first day. We told you about it. He ticked off many issues on his agenda. But in between, he also dropped the usual Trumpisms, like when he called Spain a BRICS nation or when he danced with a sword at the ball. All of this has given social media a lot of meme fodder. So here's the first of hopefully many Trump jokes to come.
Jesse, how have you been? I've been great. I'm back and you're fired. Hello all, no need to run, your fates have already been sealed. You're safe. You're safe for now.
What are you doing? And yet, are they a BRICS nation? They're a BRICS nation, Spain. You know what a BRICS nation is? You'll figure it out.
And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. Joe Biden departs Washington as ex-president on his final flight on Air Force One from Joint Base Andrews. Mexicans hold a protest against Donald Trump outside the U.S. Embassy in Mexico City, and a lonely sunfish regains appetite after a Japanese aquarium sticks cutouts of visitors on the tank. Finally, we're taking you back in history. On this day in 1976, the first Concorde commercial flights took off. The Concorde was a supersonic aircraft built in collaboration by Britain and France. It did not end up being a commercial success, with people complaining about loud noises. A deadly crash in the year 2000 sealed its fate. We're leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. We will see you tomorrow.